Okay, good afternoon. Thanks for moving up. We're going to kick off just so we have plenty of time for questions and getting information out. For those that don't know me, I'm John Meyer. I'm the Administrative Vice Chancellor here on campus. And we're going to spend a little time together this afternoon talking about UCPath. So UCPath is the new payroll system and also human resource information system. Let me just give you a few sentences on need. UCPath, our current payroll system, PPS, is based on a software platform, COBOL, which was developed the year I was born. Okay? I ran this morning. I was tired. My knees hurt. My back ached a little bit. That is sort of what's going on with our software. And pretty soon, if we did not change this, it would no longer pay you. We think it's high risk. So the system has decided this is a chance for us to really embark on a new payroll system and a consolidated and coordinated human resource information system. The magnitude of this project really, it would be hard to underestimate the complexity of this transition process, from just launching and selecting the vendor to bringing a system up that touches hundreds of thousands of employees. And what we have discovered since, the hundreds and let me say hundreds of other systems that need to plug into our payroll system. Parking but one example of 10, 12 separate parking software programs that need to plug in to this system, and then multiply that by the hundreds and hundreds of other systems that have to somehow relate to the payroll system. So a very complex project, and ultimately affects all of us, and affects many of us to a great depth. So we want to make sure people are familiar with that. And this, I think our pledge is this is the first of many overviews of this project. But this one was timely because the Office of the President, with the service center that will open up in Riverside, is starting some key hiring. So I wanted to make sure some initial briefings happen before that point. Should any of you be interested in that amazing opportunity. And also start with some background on the UCPath project. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill Reichley, and he's going to introduce some of the background of the project, other experts with us, and we want to make sure, that's why I asked you to move forward, that when we get to the right point, it's as interactive as possible, and would like you to, ideally leave with no questions, but probably the scenario we'd expect is, what questions do we have to work on more to make sure we can explain those in a way that really resonates with everyone. Because there are also some very short-term projects that you're aware of, this biweekly payroll conversion for those hourly staff that hits us pretty fast and becomes effective in February, so there have been a lot of outreach efforts on that. That is one small component of the UCPath project. So I want to take this time to introduce you to this project, talk about some of the opportunities that are coming up in Riverside, figure out what other questions we need to address in future sessions. So thanks for coming this afternoon. Oh, you've got one.
Is this on? Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for coming out today. My name is Bill Reichley, and I'm the communications lead for the UCPath Center project down in UCOP. I'm here today with two colleagues from the project, Lisa Bolivar and John Blake. John is the training lead for the UCPath Center project, and Lisa is the HR strategic partner and talent acquisition lead for UCPath Center. All three of us have been on the project since this summer, and all three of us came from UC Berkeley. It's an exciting project for us to work on because our team is made up of employees from all the UCs up and down the state, and so we're bringing together a lot of different perspectives to make this thing happen. The reason why today's talk is happening now is because the UCPath Center is opening in Riverside in 2013, and the 156 job openings are currently open, and so we're spreading the word. It's one of the project's values and goals to get as many UC employees working in the Path Center as possible, because our success in providing good service to all of our employees depends on having people who understand UC and understand the culture of UC and all the various locations. So we wanted to get out there and talk about the project. We realized that we haven't gone out yet and talked about the project. So we needed to provide some context. So what we're going to do today is talk for about an hour, a little under an hour, about UCPath, what it is, why the university is doing it, who's involved, and then a little more about what it's going to look like as far as we know today, and where we're going. And then once you understand what it's going to look like and how it's going to work, then it leads right into the jobs that are currently available. And we'll talk about the jobs and the recruiting process and the hiring process. So we're going to talk for about an hour. And then we have plenty of time to take all of your questions. And then John, Lisa, and I will all stick around afterwards as long as you want, if you want to come up and ask us a question, not in front of the entire crowd. So I will going to start this off, and I'll tell you one more thing about the presentation. We pass the microphone back and forth and do different sections of the presentation, so you'll see a lot of that. But I'm going to start it off by turning it over to John to tell us about UCPath and what it is.
Good afternoon. The UCPath program, when we talk about the UC system, we talk about the 10 campuses, the 5 medical centers, the labs, the other kind of supporting organizations there. And currently there are about 190,000 employees in the UC system. We're working with a 30-plus, as we talked about, year-old payroll system. The system was before AOL, before chat rooms, before all of that. And this is our system that is currently paying all of our employees. And with that system, there are 11 customized versions of that program. So like Davis and the medical center share a payroll system, but the payroll system is separate as you go campus by campus. They do not talk to each other. They are not interlinked in any way, shape, or form. There is a tremendous risk to that as they move forward. You will see that there are 11 customized versions of that, and then we also have supporting systems built onto each campus to support other functions that the system cannot do. So they're referred to as shadow systems, and the PPS system cannot handle these functions, so we kind of build another little system to go with it. So we put some data in here and we put some data in here and everybody gets paid. And most people don't think about it very much because we get our paycheck, but how many people in here work in payroll in some way, shape, or form? Some of you? Yeah, so you guys saw those hands. You need to give them a big hug after this presentation for what they do to get your payroll out. So every month, people don't think a lot of it because I get my paycheck and it goes into my direct deposit and I don't think. But when you look at the system we're working with, it's 2 or 3 times as much work as they should have to go through because it's such an archaic system. That's what it looks like. That is our payroll system in the UC in 2012. All of these little codes and things up here all have to be kicked into the system in order to access into paying your employees. Once you click into the system, then you're putting in line after line after line of information. So if you have an employee who works some regular time and works some overtime and works some shift differential, you're keying this into this system line by line. And it's not a point and click system like we're used to with moving a mouse around, and those people doing payroll are like nodding because this is what they do every day to get your paychecks out for you. So we're working with a 30-year-old system that doesn't give us the capabilities that we have in 2012. We were working with 15 separate employee databases, meaning that if you're an employee here at Davis, you have no link to any other campus. You are an employee here, and your information is not shared. So we are not employees in a sense of UC. We are an employee of UC Davis. And when your information is put into the system, you're put in here in Davis, and it does not talk to any other system. And I found that out the hard way when my past life and up to August, I was at UC Berkeley, and I moved over to this project. So Friday was my last day at Berkeley, and we went to lunch, and I packed my boxes. And Monday, I'm heading over to OP, which is about 4 miles away. And so I get there, bring my box, put my box down, and I think, okay, ready to go? No, it doesn't work that way because I'm not an employee yet. So I had to go down to the office and fill out my paperwork. I thought, okay, I'll go down and fill out my paperwork. I didn't bring my passport. I didn't bring my social security card. I didn't bring anything because I thought I was an employee of UC. but I had to start all over again. So I had to go back home, get my passport, get my things, bring it back, and fill out all of my paperwork all over again, as if I'm a brand new employee, because my information from Berkeley does not share to another system. So they plug in all of my information, and it doesn't stop there. I had to go down and do my benefits all over again because your benefits don't talk. So my benefits ended Friday when I left Berkeley, and I had to go through a period of initial enrollment and do my benefits all over again and start them back up. And it doesn't stop there. Because while that stopped, UCOP is this little group of people. Everybody thinks UCOP is this big thing with millions of people, but we're really kind of a small group. We run off of UCLA's payroll system. We don't run off of a UCOP payroll system. So they had to take all my paperwork and ship it down to UCLA for UCLA to process me. And it had to wait for Berkeley to print out all of my screens out of the PPS system, print, send them down to OP, or down to UCLA, match all this paperwork up, then they had to put me back into the system in UCLA and recreate me as an employee. So then I screwed up. I took a vacation day in there during this 3-week period. So then when my vacation time gets down there, then they had to recalculate it, take the day off, add it back up, calculate what I'd done, and put me into the system. So 3 weeks later, I actually became an employee again. And 2 months later, I got all my vacation time and my sick time and my service credits caught up with me because it's all done manually by hand. And I see you people that are doing that going like this. Every time an employee transfers, when we have employees who move around, when we move from departments, from campuses, this information needs to be done by hand because we don't have a system that can keep up with what we have to do. We have no consistent processes for HR between any of our campuses. And what do we mean by like an HR process is when I started at Berkeley, I had to go down to my bank and they printed out this little direct deposit slip, and I brought it into HR and they plugged it into the system. But when I started at OP, I printed out a voided check and wrote void and wrote all the information and sent it in. Why is the process different in 2 different places? So we have different HR processes from campuses to med centers all across the state. And there's no system-wide standard reporting system because we're all on 15 separate databases all over and our information's not talking. We have no way to print out reports of what's really going on between all the campuses. It has to be done manually. We print out a spreadsheet, we merge it with another spreadsheet to pull the information back in. So this is where we are today. The solution, the UCPath program is working on replacing the PPS payroll system with Oracle's database and payroll system. So it's the big function is what we're working on is bringing in the new payroll system, streamlining and standardizing all the HR processes between all the campuses. So every campus runs HR functions like my direct deposit. It shouldn't be different from one location to another. And then centralizing transactional activities at the UCPath Center, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. I thought this was interesting. I was at the Oakland airport and we were going down to UCLA, and this is probably about as big as this entire wall right here. And it's a sign up over security. And it says, by the time you reach your destination, we'll probably have a new invention. UC researchers average 4 inventions a day, constantly moving California forward. And we have a 34-year-old payroll system that we have duct taped to get it to work every month. So it just kind of felt like now we're beginning to catch up our technology with the state of our, where we are. The people behind UCPath.
Thanks, John. There's a common misperception that UCPath is being directed by UCOP. There's a number of us at UCOP who are coordinating the activities of it, but I think there might be 20 or 30 people, but there's 300 or 400 statewide working on different committees from all the campuses and medical centers. There are the 2 executive vice presidents of the university are the executive sponsors of this project. And when the UCPath Center opens, there's going to be an executive director who reports directly into Peter Taylor. And that's to make sure that the UCPath Center maintains a system-wide focus. And it's a very high-level focus. There's 2 governing groups, the executive steering team and the management work group, that are made up of vice chancellors of administration and chief human resources officers and such that meet on a monthly basis from all the locations and all the medical centers, and have been doing so for more than a year to make the policy decisions around UCPath. In addition to these groups, there's also working groups such as the Interim Advisory Board, again, that there's made up of people from all of various campuses who get together on a monthly basis to work out the actual policies and practices that UCPath is going to follow. In addition to those groups, there's a project manager for each campus that coordinates all of the work streams, all the people, all the deadlines. Radhika is right here for UC Davis. And there's a number of other people who are involved in the UCPath at UC Davis in various levels who are, I think it's called a steering committee. These people are the list of names you're looking at are the functional and technical work groups of all the decisions going into UCPath. One of the things that John alluded to was common business processes, and this is one of the areas that we've really drawn upon all the expertise throughout the UC system, trying to get all the various campuses and med centers to have similar processes is a daunting project. And an example of, here are some of the people who are working on it and some of their areas of expertise on the right. What these people have done is come together in Oakland with people from other campus locations who are also expert in that particular area to map out the process of how they do something. And that something might be commitment accounting like this, or it might be how to add a new child to your benefits plan, how to give someone a raise, how to hire someone. All these things are business processes that are all being done completely differently now at the various locations. So these groups from around the state would come together in Oakland, sit together in a room and map out how we do it at Davis, how we do it at Irvine, how we do it at San Diego. And then through this process, once they have a map of this, they'd put them up on the wall and look at them and try and come to an agreement how they can eliminate steps, how they can replicate each other. So at the end of the day, they come out and have one process that they can do statewide. It's a long process. Some of the easier ones that can be done in a day. Some of them take a week. And people have been working at this, literally over 100 people have been working at this for over a year now. And I think there's 144 different processes that they're trying to get down and streamline. Those are some of the processes going down there: direct billing, COBRA notices, conversion notices, death, life events, life insurance claims, all those things that business process maps have been developed for. And here's an example of a business process map. Some of you in the room may be familiar with these, but the blue and white stripes are called swim lanes, and each one of those represents a person in the process. So the top is the employee, that blue stripe. The next white stripe is the manager or the department. Then you get down to the campus HR, the UCPath operations, UCPath customer service. And then the green boxes and rectangles in there could represent a form that needs to be filled out and then passed to a supervisor to be signed, and then passed to campus HR to be approved, and things like that. And again, so once Davis did this for each process, they compared it to all the other 15 locations and then tried to come out at the end of the day with one single process for everyone. UCPath is on a phased rollout. They decided early on to, rather than have the entire UC system switch on one day, to break it up into 3 different waves, and so they could phase it in and make sure they're getting it right. I kind of got a little ahead of myself. The project itself started in 2010, and when they realized the PPS system was getting on its last legs, in 2011 it was a lot of the project design, and then this year, 2012, they've really ramped up a lot of the project design and figured out what it's going to look like and build out the new system. And then in 2013, the UCPath Center is opening on July 1st down in Riverside. and the Wave 1 campuses, who I'll identify in a second, will be using UCPath. We don't have it on here, but we're going to talk a lot about April 1st of 2013. The center is opening for business on July 1st, but we're going to open it on April 1st for the new employees to train for 12 weeks before the center opens. So we use April 1st and July 1st a lot in this presentation. And then in 2014, waves 2 and 3 are going to go into UCPath. And the dates for those are still being determined, but they, by the end of 2014, all UC locations and all UC employees will be using UCPath. So wave 1 is UCLA and the UCLA Med Center, then UC Merced and UCOP. John mentioned that UCOP runs its payroll through UCLA. Well, so does UC Merced. So those four in that cluster up there makes sense that they all go in together. And then UC Santa Cruz is the 5th member who's also going in on Wave 1 this next July 1st. Wave 2 locations, UC Davis and UC Davis Health Services, UC San Diego and the UC San Diego Med Center, and then UC Riverside. We get a lot of questions. We've gone up and down the state talking to various locations doing this presentation, and everyone always asks us, why is Riverside in Wave 2 if they're the location of the new Path Center? And that's because the location was selected before the waves were determined, so they were a little out of sync on those two. And as we'll talk about a little bit later, although the center is located in Riverside, it's not a part of UC Riverside, it's a part of UCOP, so that really those two are independent of each other. And then Wave 3, UC Berkeley, UCSF, the UCSF Medical Center, Santa Barbara, and then UC Irvine and the UC Irvine Medical Center. So, and those will be the last wave that'll go through. So UC Davis is Wave 2, which is actually, I think, an ideal place to be for letting Wave 1, there's going to be bumps in the project, and those will hopefully all be worked out by the time UC Davis comes into UCPath. That's just another way of looking at the information, the locations that are involved, and when they're going in. In addition to waves, when you hear about UCPath, there's phases, and they talk about the 3 phases, and we tried to make it as confusing as we possibly could by conflating phases and waves. And waves are when locations and campuses are going into UCPath. Phases are when functionality is coming in. So phase 1 is the human resources and payroll, which John was talking about. And then phase 2 is time and attendance. Right now we're all keeping separate time and attendance in all the locations, and you will continue to do it the way you do it currently, but then over time it'll standardize throughout the system. And then phase 3 will be additional HR functionality. And I mentioned this morning, there's probably going to be a phase 4 and a phase 5 by the time we get out to 2018 and 2020. Right now, UCPath is laying the foundation and the technology that it's going to enable us to do additional things. But that's when you hear phases and waves, that's what we're referring to. This is a chart that just summarizes over on the right. That's our paycheck. That's our collective paycheck. And in order to make sure that we can continue to get everyone their paycheck, we're going to implement PeopleSoft Oracle, which is the UCPath system, and the human capital management system. So the common employee database and payroll system in phase 1. And then phase 2 will be time and attendance. So roles and responsibilities about UCPath. One of the biggest questions we get when we go out and talk on campus locations is what's going to UCPath, what's staying on campus. And again, there's a misperception that everything HR is going to UCPath, and there's actually quite a bit that's staying on campus. So to tell you about that, I'm going to bring John back up here. He can walk us through.
So they gave us a slide when we first started and to tell us who was going where and what was happening, and it looked like this. So this tells you a little bit about who is doing what, where, when this all happens, but I thought this was kind of confusing and hard to read, so I kind of summarized it and broke it down with OP will continue to do system-wide policy for campuses and medical centers, things that kind of overlay on top of all of the campuses and med centers. Vendor selection and relationship management. So when you go onto At Your Service and you see Delta Dental or Blue Shield, those relationships that have to do with all of the campuses. And managing escalated cases. So if something happens on campus, it gets escalated. I mean, it eventually has a stopping point, and that's OP, and they will continue to do that. Then the PASS Center. The PASS Center will do workforce, payroll, and benefits administration for all of the campuses. So I go into my local HR and I do my paperwork as a new employee hire, and then it's put into the new PeopleSoft system, and then it's transmitted to the PASS Center, and the PASS Center will then process that, make sure the direct deposit goes, make sure information gets to the benefits that you've chosen in your initial enrollment. Make sure all of those things happen, and that's more of the administration. Manage HR data for reporting needs. Now we will have HR data for all of the campuses, so we'll be able to manage that in one central location. Leave status tracking with local HR. So there'll be kind of one central place where leave status administration happens, but we'll still initiate all of that with your local HR department. So if I have a workers' comp, you start that on your campus with your local HR department, but whether the person gets paid and how that happens, we'll go on and move on to the center. Central, or handling routine academic and staff inquiries. Central HR navigation and support. So if you go into At Your Service once a year and you forget how to do it, or you forget what your password is, somebody can help you through all of those functions. Processing individual and mass transactions for the campuses, and reporting on system-wide issues and trends. And then the campus. The campuses will continue to design and implement all the campus and medical center policies and programs. So each campus will still be able to do the policies and programs that make your campus unique and different from all of the other campuses. Medical center campus recruitment, rewards, and learning development, employee and labor relations, managing escalated cases on campus policy, academic review processes, time and attendance and posting to payroll. How you do time and attendance and how each campus does time and attendance is so unique to that campus, with all the different ways that we do that and all the research and all those chart strings and all that. We've decided that's going to be yours. You'll continue to do that and have fun with that. Personnel and historical records maintenance, leave administration, and in collaboration with UCOP on additional rollouts to the program. So how does that affect the campus, or how does the campus change because of that? It's different by campus, and the PATH project is not telling any campus or medical center how to do those functions or how to work with those functions. Every campus will make those decisions on how they want their campus to run. So as you get closer to that time, each campus will make the decisions on how their campus is going to run with the functions that are here. The PATH Center is in Riverside, California, and if you've never seen where Riverside is, it's kind of east of the LA region near Palm Springs. It's pretty centrally located near all the Southern California campuses. And the PATH Center will be about 4 miles below the Riverside campus. So it will not be on the campus, and it will not be a part of UC Riverside. It will be its own separate kind of standalone unit, not affiliated with the campus. This is what the PATH Center looks like, and actually the building's very long. It goes down on either side there. And if you look down, it's a very big building inside of there. The UCPath Center will be the top story of the building, and what we understand is the first and second story of the building is going to be the new Riverside Medical Center classrooms. What's different about a PATH Center opposed to local HRs? Most local HRs, people wear a lot of hats. How many people are in HR? Here, you do a lot of different things. You may do a little payroll functions, you may do a little benefit functions, a little workforce administration. At the PATH Center, being a shared service, people will choose a department that they want to work in, and they'll focus down on that, whether it's benefits or payroll, and they'll find the area that they want to work in and choose that, and then work specifically in that stream. Currently, you do HR functions for your campus or your department, and when it moves to the center, you'll be doing what area that you've chosen, benefits or payroll, for all of the different campuses. So that being a little bit different, as all of the campuses, you'll be dealing with issues and concerns from all of the campuses. There are 5 work streams in the PATH Center. There's customer service, operations, quality and performance, technology, and business operations. And to kind of break that down and show you what each one does and how it's going to work into the center, how many people just did open enrollment? Okay, shouldn't all of you have raised your hands because open enrollment's over already? So open enrollment, how many went online, did their open enrollment, picked their choices, change? How many had to call up somebody in HR and have them help you with it? Okay, and that's mostly what happens. Most benefit HR functions, payroll, are all done on the web. People log into the system and do their open enrollments. They change a direct deposit information, something inside of there when it goes. And you usually enter it through at your service. So it looks something like this. As we move to the new system and the system is handling all of the different campuses, we need a system that's a little more robust than at your service. So there'll be a new employee portal where there will be more activities, there will be more things that you can do inside of there. Now don't take a picture of this and turn those cameras off there in the back. I copied this off their website and doctored it up a little bit because it's not ready yet, but we wanted to show you a little bit about what it looks like. So you have your paycheck information here, your benefit information over here, life events. If you want to add a child to your benefits or you're getting married or something, you can add those things directly in through the system. And then things specific to UC Davis can be plugged in here. So when you log in, you have access to all of your information. And there is extra information over here, things like your retirement, where you'll be able to access directly into retirement information. So I'll tell you, my move was it worked well. I mean, I think everybody did what they needed to do. I've been trying more and more, because I'm getting a little older, to put more money into my 403B. So I stretch it every month. I put a little bit more and put a little bit more into the point where I've just like kind of maxed out the amount that I can put over. So remember when I told you I left Berkeley and I went over to OP? They both double dipped me that month and took out all my full benefits. So I didn't get a paycheck that month because I got a double dip into my retirement, which they told me I'll be better off when I retire. But September was a very slim month around the house. So the system will look like this, and you'll also be able to manage your cases, and we'll talk about that in just one second. If you can't solve your problem online, or you can't do what you need to do, or you need somebody to help, you'll be able to call into the center, and there will be different paths in the center. So you'll either call into workforce administration, the payroll department, or the benefits department. The center is run 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., so you have plenty of time, 5 days a week, to call in to figure out whatever you need to do. The customer service department can access into the system and can help you through most routine inquiries that will come in through the phone. If the customer service can't, if it's something that needs a little more help, needs a subject matter expert in any of those areas, it gets escalated to an operations department. And an operations department is subject matter experts in several different areas, including workforce administration. And workforce administration is a lot of your HR functionality. Things like transfers and job changes, wage increases, leave status changes are all managed by the HR workforce administration. The payroll team over here, benefits, reporting and analytics, records and fulfillment, and then your HR, payroll, and academic personnel office. So you'll be directed to the right person where they have subject matter experts in all those areas that can help work you through any of the issues that are in there. People ask, how do you keep up with all of that, or how do you manage all those? And instead of taking notes on little pink pieces of paper, they have a case management system. And a case management system records everything that comes in. So whether it's a web inquiry that comes in via an email or a phone call comes in, it's automatically logged into the system. When did it come in? Who's it coming in from? And who is it assigned to work through it? Part of when Bill went back and talked about all the people that have been involved in this process, one of the things that they wanted built into the center was accountability. Accountability back to all the campuses and to all the med centers of what's happening in the center. If things are coming into the center, are they being dealt with? Because the concern was that a center would be a black hole, that things would go in and no one would ever hear back from them. So the case management system is part of that accountability. So when something comes in, those groups that have worked on all of these processes going forward have put together what they call SLAs, or service level agreements. And a service level agreement says these functions here need to be dealt with over the phone. So when you call in, they need to be able to solve this problem. These functions here 24-hour turnaround time. These functions here, 48-hour turnaround time. So all of the things that the center will do have some type of agreement put on them that those have to happen. A case management system tracks all of those things. So it came in at this time and the case was closed at this point in time. So you always have to take out, if I hand something to you and you have to get your supervisor to sign it, and you have to get your supervisor to sign it, and somebody else has to sign it, that's not part of that. What goes on the campus is when it comes into the center that the service level agreement begins. So it's tracked inside the center here, and then this department that was built in quality and performance tracks, monitors, and reports back to the campus on how things are going. So the staff or the group of people that we're bringing in day one, and we assume we need this many people, might not be where we are several months down the road, because if we find out we're having more benefit inquiries than payroll inquiries, it allows us to shift that around. But this gives us, with the knowledge management team, business process improvement, and quality performance, an ability to track everything that comes in and how we are meeting on those service level agreements so we can improve and get to where we need to be with the service that we're providing in the center. With all the technology that's in the center, we have its own technology department, so they'll be able to manage all the PeopleSoft and Wyzen functions that are inside the center. And then, because it's a separate operating unit, the training team, the talent acquisition, budget management, facilities support, and communications will all be within the center to kind of monitor what's going on inside of there. Then the next part is, I'm kind of moving, going slow so they can follow me on the camera. The next part there is training, and to me the training is the most important thing out of everything that we're doing, because that's my department, so I'm responsible for all of that. Sometimes I hyperventilate when I think about what we have to do. But we have this model here of who does what, the new At Your Service portal. How do we come in and use that? How does the local HR access the system and put in a new employee? How does an employee monitor the cases that they have opened? How does anybody know how to use the UCPath Center? So we're developing training to roll out to each of the campuses. And it's kind of our deployment on how we go out. And it's not one training that's going to come out to every campus the same way. Every campus functions a little differently. So our deployment training team is working with each campus. And we were just at a training together 2 weeks ago, last week, yeah, beginning this process of how we're going to roll this out to each campus. And part of that training will include figuring out how to use this system for each campus. So every campus will have its own deployment of training depending on what each campus needs. So there won't be one training that comes out for all of the campuses, and kind of how to use the whole entire system. Each campus and medical center will decide how they want their training to go and who will do training on your campus. Because as the program rolls out, we can come and do as much training as we need to get you going, but how does it move forward? How does each campus continue the training and continue new implementations and continue things as it moves forward? So there will be train-the-trainer clinics for who's been decided on your campus to be the training group that will keep this going. Then there will be in-person classes. So if you want to come and learn something in person, there will be in-person classes, especially for the HR people. How are they going to access the PeopleSoft systems inside of there? Web-based trainings. There will be instructors manuals, job aids, and then what we call UPKs. And UPKs are User Productivity Kit. It's an Oracle program, and it basically records a step of what you need to do. So how would I describe this? I could offer a whole lot of classes on how to add a child to your benefit, and nobody's going to pay any attention to me, and nobody's going to come to my class, but the minute you're expecting a child, you're going to want that class to be taught every day so you can get into that class and add your child to your benefits. So UPK is a way for us to record the steps. Enter the program here, click here, type in this information, hit the save button, and it's recorded. And then at any point in time, you can click that, turn that video on, watch that video, and then stop it, rewind it if you want to. So there's about 450 of those videos that we're recording. And 450 sounds crazy because you guys all think, oh, what am I going to ever do? Some are for employees, some are for the HR department, some would be for the UCPath Center employees. So all the functions that are there will be recorded into the system. So they'll all be there. And some people wanted to know a little bit more about what it looked like, so I made one for you. So I've been going to Starbucks a lot. You have a Starbucks right down here. And have you ever looked at the calorie count in some of your drinks? All those holiday drinks that they have right now. So I'm going to ruin your holidays. So this is a UPK I recorded on how to find the calorie count. I'm not doing anything. I can put little pointers up there to tell you what to do. Did you know there are 680 calories in that peppermint mocha? I've been getting one every morning, so thought maybe I would stay away from that. So a UPK can be recorded, so you could launch that video at any point in time, even at 3 o'clock in the morning when you're panicking on how do I add my child to my benefits, and launch the video and it walks you through the steps. So training needs to be available to everybody at any point in time, and that's going to be recorded, all of those steps, and put into the Path Center websites. The Path Center website is ucpath.universityofcalifornia.edu, and UC Davis has your own ucpath.ucdavis.edu, which is information that's a little more specific to your campus and what's going on. So the top website will give you more generic information about what's going on in the Path Center as a whole, and your specific website is kept up to give you information specifically on what's happening with your campus. So you'll see as you look at, if you were to go, each campus has their own website, you'll find a little more specific information, like UCLA, who's rolling out first. They're getting a little more down towards their timeline. So you'll see different information on different websites. This is what your website looks like. So it's got a lot of information there for you. It tells you you're all invited here today. And you'll see that changing. So it's a great way to keep up with information about the PATH program by checking out the websites. And then the general UCPath website now has information about all of the jobs if you're interested in applying for the jobs. You can click in and look at job descriptions. You can look at any of the information on any of the jobs that are currently posted. And many employees told us, I'm interested in working at the center, but I don't know about interviewing. I haven't gone through an interview in 10 years. I'm a little rusty. What do I do? So we created, with all the different campuses, we worked on creating some videos to kind of help you through this. And you'll see these are some videos on what we're going through today, so if you want to watch it all over again. Managing change in your personal career, understanding and communicating your strengths. And there was a big question on, how do I tell people all of the things that I do? I have all of these functions that I do in my job, or I'm the treasurer of my PTA and I do spreadsheets and accounting and finances, but it's not part of my job. How do I tell somebody that? Resume development, cover letter writing, and successful interviewing tips. So this walks through the entire interview process and how to go through that, and gives you lots of ways to think about it before going through an interview. And these aren't specific to the UCPath Center, but they can be used for anything that somebody does. So the center recruitment plan. I'll pass this off to Lisa.
So hi, everybody. I'm Lisa Bolivar, and I also came from UC Berkeley. So I started a couple shared service centers on the UC Berkeley campus, and then got very excited to hear about UCPath and to come and be a part of the project. So I started in June of this year, and have been working very quickly to write job descriptions, to work with compensation, to work with the unions. And so through that whole process, it has been determined that UCPath employees will be UCOP employees. They will not be a part of UC Riverside. So they will be governed by the policies and the practices from UCOP, but they will be in the location in Riverside. And we are trying to get as many links between the UC Riverside campus and the UCPath Center, so you'll be able to, hopefully, we haven't got it all worked out yet, but hopefully you'll be able to leverage off of the campus, so for sports events, for discounts, for that type of thing, and possibly for the van pools that are going down there. So the first thing that we did after doing the job descriptions is we hired the first 3 applicants. The first 3 employees are now UCPath employees. So we have our executive director, James Leedy, who started just a couple of weeks ago. And we've also placed the operations director and the customer service director. So with those 3 executive staff on board, we started with the recruitment. And we posted our jobs on November 26th. So these are all of the areas where jobs are open. We have 156 people that we need to place within the UCPath Center for Wave 1 to make sure that we have payroll running on July 1st. And this tells you that we need those 156. So we minus 3, we need 153. And we have 20 of those jobs defined as critical positions to be hired. And the pamphlet, or this sheet that you have in front of you, you'll see all the jobs listed on the back. And the ones that have a cross next to them, those are the positions that are considered critical. So those are the 20 positions that will be hired first. So we posted the jobs on the 26th of November. And then the critical hires that I just mentioned, those postings close this Friday. And those are mostly our manager and supervisor positions, as well as our technical staff, and then some of our assistant or executive support staff. And there's 20 positions, and 24 people will actually be placed. And those individuals will start hopefully February 25th. That's our goal. So the remaining jobs, which we consider to be the general openings, those will close on January 18th. And their start date, which John and Bill have mentioned now, is April 1st. So the remaining of the people will be hired April 1, and they will have 3 months of training by John Blake in Riverside to be up and running so we can start payroll July 1st. So you have a list there, but these are the critical positions that you can see, the 20 that are listed here, and then these are the remaining positions. And then the center will be staffed for Wave 1 to be running payroll for those first 5 centers, first 5 locations. So one of the things that we wanted to communicate to you, since you're not one of the Wave 1 campuses, is that you do not have to be within the wave that you start working. So if you chose to apply for a job now, even though your campus is a Wave 2 campus, we would accept your application. In fact, we'd be thrilled to have you. The success of the center will depend on how many people we get with UC experience. So we really are trying to bring as many people from UC to the UCPath Center, so we have the institutional knowledge that comes along with that. And then the second part that we wanted to make sure is, this is one of the largest, probably is the largest project that UC has ever taken on other than starting a new campus. And so with that, we wanted to make sure that everybody within the UC system had the same opportunity for the jobs. So if you are a UC employee and you have been a UC employee for the month of November, this past month, you would be considered a priority hire. And so anybody who is a UC employee would, as long as you filled out an application, would be given that priority status, which means that you would go through a pre-screen and then a phone interview. And then based on a phone interview, which would last about 30 minutes, then we would bring those people that elevated to a in-person panel interview. And those in-person panel interviews will be taking place for the critical hires January 3rd and 4th in Oakland. And then for the next week, so January 7th through the 11th, will be the remaining positions, of the remaining placements will be down in Riverside for those interviews as well. And all of that will take place before we actually in-person interview any external applicants. So that's what we're calling priority hiring. So UC employees will given first status to all of the jobs and will be interviewed before we actually start interviewing any external applicants. And then this again is just another hit for you as far as what the jobs, where to find the jobs. It's on the system-wide job board, and typically all the campuses are listed on the right, but we are not a campus, and so UCPath will be listed on the left. And again, it'll be pre-screen, 30-minute phone interview, and then a panel interview, which will last about 45 minutes to an hour for an in-person. And here are 2 email addresses. One is for the project, and then one is for the jobs. If you have any questions after you leave here today, if you actually wanted to write us, we will be answering you. I will be answering you personally with some of the recruiters. And then this is the contact information for your campus specific. So thank you. Oh, there was another one. So there's another link here showing you the UCPath Center jobs. Okay, thank you very much.
So at this time, we're happy to take your questions, and also the 3 of us, but also there's representatives from the UC Davis UCPath project up here as well, who you can direct questions to. So, thank you. Questions? Don't be shy. Yes?
Is that done at the local site, or is there some electronic way people are going to be? So when you get a new employee at UC Davis?
Yeah, it's still a campus activity. Still a campus activity for onboarding, but whoever's doing the onboarding will have extended access to PeopleSoft, so they'll be able to plug information into the system and then transmit it, and then the center will then process the person.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so when you're plugging it, I mean, currently you plug it into your local HR system. Now it'll be plugged into the PeopleSoft, so the person will become a full, what I call full UC employee now. Yeah.
Can you hear the questions online, or should we repeat the questions into a microphone? We have a mic.
Got a roaming mic here.
Sorry.
Okay.
Thinking that's the merits and promotions system, but you didn't elaborate on it, so I wonder.
Yeah,
if
most
you could
academic personnel functions remain on campus, so it's just some of the administrative functions of that will, I mean, if there is like an increase or a merit increase or something like that, it does become part of the pay, so the pay will be going through the PASS Center, so there will be some link between those, but your academic personnel functions remain on campus. Questions? Yeah.
So I work for student housing, and we have many employees who speak Spanish primarily, and we have someone in our department that helps translate. So will there be either things in Spanish, some of the benefits information, or some of that, or someone at the PASS Center that would be able to do some translation in Spanish about different things that affect their lives? It's easier for them to communicate in Spanish.
Yeah, the center is going to be open from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., and it's going to have a translation service there. And we're hoping to hire bilingual customer service reps, but there is going to be a translation service, one that you call in and then you patch through a 3-way phone call, so there will be a translator if it's not a bilingual rep. Yeah, and I think you mentioned, but the hours are 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. 5 days a week. Questions? Yes.
When we're getting ready to move in, like you said, your information had to be re-entered. Is there a time that we're going to have to re-enter all the information, or is there a central service that's going to be entering all the information into the new system?
We have an entire team right now that's working on what they call data conversion. So they write, these are all the fields at Davis, and this is how they have to go in here. So they write a conversion table that'll bring the data right over. So what I went through, you won't have to go through. No. Hope nobody does. Question? Lisa's flexible spending card has never started working again. Questions? Okay, we're going to stay as long as we need to for any questions afterwards, because sometimes people don't like to ask questions in front of everybody else or have to talk into this. So we'll be here as long as you need to ask questions if you'd like to come up. And thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.